Daemon's favor. Put an end to it now.
Welcome back to StarCraft 2, ladies and gentlemen. The game where we're only using one unit will clearly never work. In the case you didn't understand, that was an obvious lie. StarCraft Co-op is terribly known for just spamming one unit of the same type, whether they're actually useful or not. Something that I forgot to mention in my previous video is that spamming the same unit is like a double-edged sword. Good strengths become great, and bad ones become absolutely terrible. Spamming the same unit is very fun, and even if you're greeted with this group, it's a fun ride. However, this is mainly the problem because of high gas costs and the old saying that most of you viewers should know.
You must construct additional pylons.
That's right, the Protoss have entered the ring for galactic dominance, and trust me, they are packing some serious heat. Though, we can debate if it's actually useful or not. Something I do need to go through is I do have to go through all the beginning jargon about the whole how to build a base, because I don't want to be talking to a wall for 10 minutes when that's exactly what I'm doing, but that's beyond the point. This fancy looking building looks like it reeks cash. This building is the Nexus. It's your normal base. Really nothing special beyond that, but actually it does reek cash. Being the most expensive building goes for bases. It doesn't get any cheaper than this, trust me. But that's just a Protoss effect with draining your wallet of minerals and gas that honestly looks like energon cubes. Power fields are the new thing, and you're able to build structures and warp in paid casualties. I mean, troops that will be in your care with great army decisions. Pylons are the source of this power. They provide population, troop deployment, and building structures. These structures will allow you to produce troops and resources, which you do desperately need with this hero, and reinforcements are very, very easy to deploy, especially with Artanis' warping rig. First off, the cost for units are absolutely insane, even comparing them to other races and other commanders that don't cost as much as any Protoss commander. I'm even including Kerrigan in this list, and you've already seen the prices of them even with the reduction of cost. It's absolutely insane.
For I am the Queen of Blades.
Where Kerrigan is the Queen of Blades, with revenge in her grasp, you, Artanis, are the King of Casualties, and have bankruptcy in your grasp. Yeah, unless you know what you're doing, then, you know, you won't be. Don't get me wrong, Artanis is a great hero to play, and I had a lot of fun playing him as I was recording the footage for this video. I have to say that some of the good sides of him also have a bad side. Take his power fields, for example. The good side, the main focus of his kit. Troop deployment has never been easier, which allows the rare player to make the infamous move of making an army composed of more than one unit. The bad side. Troop deployment can get out of hand, as you'll be finding yourself out of minerals, gas, and so on, out of options. So be careful and pace your army, because as you're making more resources, you don't want to be burning all your resources, because if that army dies, you have nothing to back it up. If you need an example, here you go. Take the top bar. The mobile power field is a very useful ability, if I do say so myself. Without the construction of a pylon, you were able to deploy a power field almost anywhere on the map at the cost of a short cooldown time. Good for reinforcements, and good for defense. You should probably get comfortable with this ability and get used to it, because this is the only one you're going to be popping every so often, because one of Artanis' major weaknesses is the inconsistency of his abilities, rather for the recharge time or the costs of them. Yes, there is two. Take the orbital strike for example, dropping 5 laser-like bombs on enemies from orbit. In making this video, I asked myself, does this ability sound cool and look cool? Yes. Does the ability help in-game at all? No. So please don't rely on this for damage. As you can tell, Artanis has very shitty offense for his abilities, which is probably due to his army damage being insanely crazy. From his heavy troops to even his basic troops, the damage numbers are insane. He makes up for his defense actually keeping his premium priced army alive for the foreseeable future. It's not like it has a recharge though, right? Oh damn, it does have a recharge. Oh shit, it has 2. You heard it here, folks. The best ability used to actually make your army survive has not 1, but 2 cooldowns. Shield Overcharge is a solid power, giving 100 shields to not only your army and your structures, but also your allies' units and structures. Though let's be honest here, you're the most important one here. So please use it sparingly, because it will save your life, and you will be able to survive some serious heat, rather from the dummy thick hybrids to the objectives that are literally invincible, or they just have a crap ton amount of health. Being StarCraft 2, the heat can be brought from both sides of the battlefield. Where your enemies have hybrids that can wipe out your base in an instant, you have fire. Really? That's it? That's all we have? Well, how about a firebomb? Better, but can be improved. How about 400 fire blasts like bombs on a single position? Alright, you made your point. Calm down. The final ability is Solarite Bombardment, able to unleash genocide in the shape of a sunflower to any unfortunate soul that sets foot inside its circle. But it is not as beautiful as Sunflower if you count mass killing as beautiful. But as I said before, Artanis' good abilities and good sides to his kit also have a bad side, which is commonly known as the cooldown. This one has a long cooldown, so only use whenever you need to, or you can be me and just use it whenever it's possible. Personally, I would use it when it is strategically valuable, not impulsively valuable. This is why I'm making this video, to stop idiots like me from existing. His abilities are situational, as you can probably already tell, if not me just constantly saying it over and over again. The only difference between his abilities and his troops are very minimal, as one rains terror from orbit, the other one rains terror from the front lines, which is equally as deadly, and if not, more costly. Also known, the Protoss Premium. But ToxicSpill, I'm an experienced StarCraft player. I don't know what the hell you're talking about the Protoss Premium. Well, listen in. The Protoss Premium is a term I give to the Protoss, which is the trade-off of costly units for situational or versatile use. Don't worry, spamming does work despite what I said in the intro. Some units are good for it, some units are bad for it. Again, this is why I'm making these videos. So you get it. Really good units for a high price. Take his basic units, for example, the Zealots. The basic Protoss infantry that can overwhelm in mass numbers while also deploying in mass numbers instantly. Instead of a blade like a Halo Elite, they have a giant axe that is much larger than themselves, though surprisingly this is not an anime. They are priced at 100 minerals, which is balanced out by their ability to charge and swing their axe like a Beyblade. Except the only thing that they're ripping is the unfortunate soul at the end of the blade. Is the axe big enough to chop down anything within a meter? Yes. Is the axe big enough to slash any air units? No. Honestly, I wish it could, but life is like that way. The Fix are Dragoons. No, not dragons that breathe fire. These ones fire armor-piercing energy that can tear apart anything that is tough or has a hard shell. Don't ask me why, I don't know. Large numbers of these slow-moving units that differentiate from their stalker counterparts with the trade-off. The trade of a slow-moving, high-damage, slow fire rate with more health from a fast-moving, fast-attacking, squishy unit. Probably the only unit that you can spam in large numbers with little to no repercussions, as it can hit air and ground at long range, might I add, when you upgrade it, while being, and I use this word really sparingly, relatively cheap. So, buildings have strict rules along with a heavy price, and troops are more expensive than any other race. ToxicSpill, like, where's the good side of these troops? Don't disrespect Dragoons and Zealots, you filthy casual. I'm sorry for that. I don't know where that came from. However, I am no stranger to hardships in life and taking a hit, which conveniently leads me to the next set of units that can take a bigger hit than what is previously possible by any Protoss unit. Say hello to the Immortal, a walker tank thing, able to deal massive damage to single targets while having a massive supply of shields and a hefty amount of health. They are nothing short of false advertising, it just creates the idea that Immortals are unkillable. It's actually not true, they just have large amounts of health. They are thick. As usual, the price is painful to pay, but that's just an effect. The Protoss effect. The only immortal part of them is the fact of their ability, which basically, when their normal shields go down, it deploys an even heavier shield that is able to absorb an absurd amount of damage. These guys, no matter how menacing they are, they have one glaring weakness: speed. As you can tell, frontline fighters is what makes up of Artanis' troops, like literally almost every single troop he has in his arsenal. So this begs the question, what else does he have? Like, he's a free hero for God's sake. Like, where's the versatility? Where's the options? Long range units are not plentiful in StarCraft alone. Thankfully though, Artanis has access to not one, but two, which is actually a very, very big deal. One from the ground and one from air. And normally I would separate these two because they're built in a different factory, but screw it. You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna throw away the script. You know what? My writer has absolutely no clue what he's doing. ToxicSpill then proceeds to throw away script. Fuck! Reavers! I've used them and seen them. You haven't, so here you go. The Reaver is capable of dealing massive damage to ground units, which is a blessing yet a curse at the same time. I can't really decide which one, you'll just have to see in game. Dealing large amounts of damage to structures and ground units with its deadly upgrade to even make each shot splash damage. This sounds too good to be true. Well, guess what? There is a catch. It's simple, and they go together very well. Not for your convenience, but you know, whatever. Small health pool, and can only attack ground targets. Need I say more? There is little to no hope, or a lot of hope depending on how smart you are in game, which is to make a large amount of tempests. For example, artillery like spaceships that fire a giant orb of energy like nondescript anime title insert below, dealing massive damage to all sorts like air and land and structures, yet surprisingly unreliable even in large groups. So I shouldn't be seeing spamming whatsoever with this unit. Hopefully. The pinnacle of the Protoss effect, costing a massive amount of population, minerals, gas, and so on. So good luck even affording them, Chief. Don't get me wrong, Tempests are solid units. They're really, really good for artillery. So if you're facing large amounts of weak units that are able to target air, don't use it. It's pretty basic, yet sometimes this doesn't get to my head for some reason. They are more supporting units, so they're able to counter weaknesses of other troops. So for example, if your Dragoons can't target a lot of enemies, well boom, you have the splash damage with the Reaver. For your Reavers, you have your Durgans, or Dragoons, or you know, whatever you call them. For your Tempests, you're mainly going to be using Phoenixes. They compensate them very well. They are a solid supporting unit, and also a standalone troop already as it is. Much like a volleyball, their ability to launch enemies in the air and keep them in the air, except the volleyball doesn't stay in the air for multiple seconds, and two balls. You know what? Every time I keep saying this, I feel like I'm getting further from volleyball. Moving on. Much to your surprise, these spaceships are built at a spaceport. I know, shocking. They are built in large numbers, so spamming is possible, though they don't really yield as much results as Dragoons or have the fun of Zealots. Upgrades are nothing short of mandatory, having an extended range which is really, really useful because it avoids them getting shot out of the sky, and it becomes less of a problem. Doesn't get eliminated, but you know what? You know, you don't have to deal with it as much. And also deploying 2 gravity bubbles that are able to lock 2 units at once per unit. And if you ask me, that's a mandatory upgrade. So, every unit has its weakness and its good strength, which conveniently have weaknesses of themselves. It's unfortunate, but it's a necessary evil that you will have to deal with. So again, spamming is a hard sell, because to me, I have felt the repercussions. Now, yeah. The Archon, a biological killer with the heaviest shields in the game besides objectives. But we don't talk about them. Close range fighters with high damage and a high price. You can't get away from it, so the price is so high it really cannot compare to other. Like Tempests already were really bad, but these guys, they take 2 units to actually make because they need to combine together. Because there's some greedy son of a... As I was saying, they are able to create psionic storms, which are able to kill anything at a large group with ease. However, this ability is balanced out by its only use being manual, so it takes more work, which shows you the amount of footage and clips I have for them. In short, please do not spam these. I learned this the hard way. Don't even use them as a main force. Like, even if you could afford them as a main force, they're too close range, and they have too big of hitboxes, so it's really hard to move them around. As every video ends with the exact same segment of mastery perks, though I have to say these perks aren't really masterful. I think that's a word at all. The first one seems overpowered, and most of the StarCraft 2 community would agree. But again, this video is on my findings and the time I've spent in-game with this free commander. Put simply, the overcharge upgrade already has 2 cooldowns. So you don't really need to be worrying about how often you can use it because one other cooldown is going to balance it out. Guardian Shell is something that I haven't mentioned, I think just because it's a dull ability that should be found in game. Hint hint, it's just an emergency shield for troops with critical health. The second one is probably the worst one. As you can tell, Artanis, he's not going to be relying on his abilities too much, and most of the heavyweight is going to be pulled by his troops. The recharging energy fuels the 2 abilities in the middle, so you're not really going to be using your abilities often enough to worry about them. Again, this is why I say it's like the mastery perks aren't great. The third is the total amount of energy you start with in the beginning of the game, which is situational because if you're playing on the really higher difficulties, you can actually defend yourself if you're behind in any way. Though with these modes, they tend to be unforgiving. Just go with the simple chrono boost at this point because it increases your production to a maximum of 30%, and really it will just help with actually getting your builders out to actually harvest the minerals much faster. Honestly, the mastery perks aren't really that good, where the level 15 upgrade blows all these out of the water. No, it's not an actual explosion or cannon, I wish it was, but no. His best upgrade by far is called Glory of the Daylom. If you can recall, earlier in the video, and probably all the times that I've said it multiple times, I have said that troop deployment can get out of hand. And this fix is, in a way, will solve the problem. This ability makes Artanis' starting population cap to 200. In other words, the max. You're not going to solve your mineral or gas problem, but I mean, this is a start. Before the video ends, 3 things. The 3 last videos I made, I'm really proud of, and I really hope you're all enjoying it as well. These 3 videos are on the 3 commanders that are free to the game, that is completely free. So the rest you're able to try for free, but to actually use them to their full potential, you have to pay for them. So, quick reminder. Secondly, in editing this video, I learned that applying this new color grading, and I'm really starting to learn more and more about editing, and I feel that the footage actually looks a lot better. I'll show an example on screen of comparing the 2. And yeah, I'm going to be using this for the foreseeable future until I fully master color grading. And that's about it. Lastly, I hope you all enjoy what I'm making, and I seriously love doing this. Please consider subscribing to the channel and for the content or for me. Tune in next time where we're going to be taking a different direction and actually making our units survive. With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all in the next one. This is ToxicSpill, and remember, do what makes you happy.